And like if they once they understand Dark
Oh,
Souls.
so was the game easy for you, Zach? Was it easy?
Yeah, the game was easy for me. I wish it was more difficult.
It's gonna get me heated, bro.
Welcome to the second part of this conversation.
As promised.
Any and all things I say here are spoilery. Any and all things they say here are spoilery.
You should put a big flashing banner.
Spoilery.
Spoilery. Yeah, I do that.
Spoilery.
I figured the best thing to just talk about when we talk about spoilery stuff, let's talk about our favorite bosses. Let's get them off the table. I have my top 5 favorite bosses. We can work like bottom up. Y'all don't have a list. If you do or don't, that's fine. I'm gonna work bottom up and just like talk my way through my favorite bosses of the game.
Yeah, I don't necessarily have them in a specific order, but I've got 5 notable things. Either I liked the boss design or they were memorable for other reasons.
Yep.
So, yeah.
I'll start off with my 5th favorite boss.
Okay.
And it was a late game boss, and it was Malekith, the Black Blade, I believe it's called. And the reason it was 5 was because I thought the boss fight was really cool. The setting was cool. It was a hard fight. I thought the first phase was lame. I thought the first phase was kind of like it's just some like man in a potato sack.
And I guess it's supposed to be lame.
Yeah.
Because he's supposed to go through this transformation, basically.
So the transformation was cool. I was very happy when I saw it. When I first started it, I was like, okay, what's going to be behind this door? It's going to be something crazy. And it was that thing, and I was like, oh, man, what the heck is this? Like, it was such a letdown, but the fight ended up being pretty cool. Kind of a goofy effect they threw on the weapon he used with like, what was it, like black flame?
Right, it drains your maximum health.
Yeah.
So.
And it's funny, if you die to it, I didn't know what was going on. My health, I came back with like less than full health.
Yeah.
Which was weird. I didn't even know what happened, but that's what happened. Yeah. What'd y'all think of Malekith the Black Blade?
So I like that fight. He's up there. I just thought there were some things about it that were pointlessly hard. Like the fact that he took down my max health. Yeah, the fact that he took down my max health. The fact that the way that his area is set up is there's these pillars that he uses to jump around. But also, you could be standing behind one and get slashed through it and get killed by it. As
Getting
cool
hit
as
through
it was,
things is always goofy in these games, and it's always there. It's always there.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's why that one didn't always hit the top. I want to compare and contrast though the moveset of Phase 1 Malekith to the moveset of the other Beast Cleric.
Oh,
like is it the same in the temple? Like is it exactly the same? I mean, he does have all the same spells, but he just gets aggroed to you once. Like did somebody just sit there and like let him be aggro? Because I think you have to hurt him enough for that fight to end. So
correct.
Did they just watch and like categorize like every move, be like, okay, he did this one, okay, he did this one, and like see if he does all the same moves or not? Like I bet somebody out there is gonna do that and compare the two to each other.
It's not the exact same. I'm sure it's similar. So, but yeah, you don't get enough exposure to that other beast clergyman. But yeah, I mean they're the same type, I guess.
That beast clergyman, when he attacked me, I think I was on party chat with you, Landy. I was sitting there looking out at the other like gargoyle boss outside the door, and I was like, I died to the gargoyle. I was like, okay, let's get up here, let's get ready for the next one. And then I literally was like attacked from behind, like freaked out, and he's just beating me up against the wall. I was like freaking out, and then Andrew's laughing his ass off, like waiting for it to happen this whole time. Oh, it was so funny. I had no idea what I did, and it turns out I didn't do anything. I just progressed the.
I think it's just the amount of like the death root things that you give him. He just does that after a certain amount.
Yeah, it was so funny. And then he's like, "All right, we're cool. I'm gonna hang out back here again."
I'm sorry. Just keep feeding me stuff.
Keep feeding me stuff.
It's all good.
Did y'all find all the death root in the game, by the way?
No, but I know what like it amounts to. Like I don't.
When
think
you do, he's like, my work here is done, and just like fades to nothing. Like it's just like peace out. Yeah.
What?
He's just like. That's all I needed. I mean, he gives you the spells and stuff.
Thank you.
He does this little voice line where he's like, all the death root has been consumed. Like, he tells you it's all gone, basically. Don't go looking for more. And my work here is done. And literally, like, Yoda from Star Wars just disappears into nothingness, and it's just like it's like, oh, all right, well there goes that. I guess it's ending now.
Nice.
Yep.
Any other? What's next? Y'all name a boss now? A boss you want to talk about? Maybe
well, I was gonna bring up Malekith, and Landy already kind of touched on why it's like in some ways unnecessarily difficult. I have a rather negative opinion on a few bosses, and it's not like, okay, in hindsight, yes, they're cool design and all that, but I had a string of like just unluckiness, I guess, the order of the game that I played it in. Like there were a few like big story bosses that I about like lost my crap with. So he was one of them, and
the game gets hard at the end. The last like 5 bosses are significantly harder than everything else in the game.
Yeah. Yes. Agree. Yeah. I mean, it's not that it wasn't a cool design or anything. I just kind of got fed up with some of the unfairness that I feel like is more just I don't want to say bad design, but maybe it's just unbalanced.
Yeah.
So, and there's more to talk about.
But you fight him in a freaking tornado land.
It is cool. It is really cool. Yeah.
All right, y'all give me a boss on the lower end of your top 5. A cool boss, but not your favorites.
Man, okay, well, I guess I know what I can speak to for that then. So I kind of have a category here of bosses that I thought were pretty cool. It's mostly because you fight several of them, and I just kind of learned them. But all the dragon bosses I thought were pretty cool.
Yep.
Kind of cool. They changed them up with like the different, essentially elemental effects. Depending on which one. And you encounter that first one very early in the game. Flying dragon Agil.
Agil, yeah.
That was pretty cool. And I actually thought that was. It was, I think, if I remember correctly, like the first significant boss that I fought on horseback, which was really fun. And I didn't struggle with that. Which you'll notice a theme here: bosses that I didn't struggle with very much, I'll call some of my favorite.
Yeah.
And we could, again, hindsight, I can look at like the setting and the story significance and think that okay, that's really cool. But yeah, so the Flying Dragon, specifically the first one, I thought was really cool, just because of the horseback riding. Like you really get a feel for what that kind of combat is going to be like.
Yeah.
So I thought those were.
I don't remember the exact voice lines, but the the humanoid people in that like lake, they're like praise Agil or like bless Agil, like they're saying something like that. Like so, if you like walked up there and like heard them, like what the hell are they talking about?
And the dragon swoops
exactly. Yeah. So I came to them after I killed it, so I thought it was kind of ironic. I was like, I've killed your guy.
They're still like they're still like hoping he's gonna just fly in someday.
I think I got like some kind of dialogue from a random NPC saying like, "Oh, don't go over there. Like there's a dragon over there."
Warns you.
Yeah.
Yura warns you. Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, don't do it. I'm going to do it.
So I
need that trophy.
I think all the dragons are very lore heavy too.
Yes, they are.
Or at least like story building kind of. So I think that's
some
a
of
good
them,
pick.
it's hard to connect
put that in there.
Yes, but there are a few that very significant, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So those are cool. As far as like lower end, again, I don't have these like ranked really, but those were just some cool ones.
Landy, any cool bosses from you?
Yeah, I'll say from the lower end, actually, I liked Margit. Fighting Margit from the beginning, like I was like, I'm in a Souls game right now.
Yeah,
that's your first.
And, like,
that's the first bottleneck one, right?
Yep. Yeah, and that one, looking back on it, they kind of clearly are like, yeah, go out and get some levels, Buster. You're not gonna fight me straight up. And like he had movement that reminded me of Gale from the DLC in Dark Souls 3. And so yeah, I like them. I put him on the lower end.
He had a cool item too that you could like find from an NPC or purchase.
Right.
Good old patches. And it, like,
which I did not get that.
You can chain him to the ground, but only twice, specifically in the first phase, for some reason. But that was cool. Yeah, Margit was the first like. Is he the first like actual like trophy boss you'll run into?
I think he may
typical playthrough.
Right, if you go like you're going logically through the first area to Stormvale, I think he is. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Cool fight. I think you had to summon. Was it Rogier? You can summon in there.
Rogier.
Yep. But yeah, that fight. I know that a lot of people. Like I've talked to several people who are new to the series who definitely struggled on that one. He felt like more of a standard boss to me. Like you said, like he's reminiscent of others. But yeah, that'll be a first big hurdle for people.
He's even got the good old Souls. Hey, there's no wall here. You'll fall off and die if you get put like. Just gotta love that. That happened to me a time or two. Margit was cool for sure. I'll bring up my number 4 because I know what this boss is going to get brought up no matter what, so I'm just going to say it. I thought, hot take, I liked the Melania fight. I thought it was...
This statue is actually cut in half, by the way.
Yeah.
I
think the fight was BS most of the time. It was by far the hardest fight in the game for me. It was like the only time I really actually got frustrated, like really frustrated the game.
Go watch someone do it level 1 with a club.
Yeah.
No hit.
Yeah, for real.
Go, because it's there.
It's there.
Someone's done it. I've watched it.
But I liked it because, like I mentioned in the first video, I was going through the game in a way where I was like avoiding any and all difficult interactions. So it felt good when I did beat the boss to like beat a difficult boss that I was like I was stuck at. I had to beat it. There's no other way to go. It was like beat the game or beat the boss. That was my options. So I did like that aspect. I think the fight is, while the setting is cool and the lore is cool and like the boss looks cool, some of those attacks were bogus. And like,
and the AI behind them, right?
The AI behind them was bogus.
Yeah, we could get real technical about like how, at least from my standpoint, I felt it was imbalanced. Like there was and it really wasn't that much that needed tweaking. It just like there were a couple things that made the fight like almost insurmountably frustrating. Like it was just, kind of silly.
Basically, her anime attack was what it was. Her anime swing the flurry attack that like she did like
the dance
5
of the
times.
waterfowl. Actually, could you put some respect?
Apologies. Yeah, like if she did like that once and it took like 3/4 of my health, that'd be one thing. But it was like
kills you.
Yeah, but she's like, I'm gonna do this attack 4 times in a row, and if you get hit by any of it, you die. Like just straight like and. Even if you get hit by the last part of it, I gain a significant amount of my health back.
That's the other part, right? We haven't even mentioned yet. Everything gives her health back.
Even her hitting you with her shield.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you just take that away, I think this is a pretty balanced fight. But I
think if you took away that flurry attack, it'd be manageable. If you took away regaining health from all attacks, that'd be manageable. But everything together, it was like, okay, guys.
I didn't even get
really
the lore explanation on why she got health back. Because she's like the goddess of rot, so it's like, oh, she's gonna hit me and I'm gonna like take I'm gonna take damage over time.
Yeah.
I'd be like, okay, but it's like, oh, she gets health. Why does she get health back?
Then with her with the rot, there was only, correct me, was it not just that meteor attack that was the one that could actually do that to you, like that?
I think that was it.
Yeah, I think that was probably it with her like flower thing.
She had one attack that could actually, even though she's the goddess of rot. So yeah I mean.
The first time I got to the second phase,
Oh no! Wait, there is one move. She would like slam down and make like an explosion at the end of some other sequences that had rot on it too. Yep.
Okay. But when she would do that, that was like the best time to go hit her because she would sit there for a while. So you almost feel like, I'm gonna take the rot damage. I'm just gonna get some free hits on her.
Yeah.
It was kind of funny.
Yeah.
I actually kind of agree with you that it's one of the good bosses in the game. I probably spent the most time on that boss out of anybody here, and Sir Lumber can attest to this. He summoned me for a couple of them. I knew that boss. Very well, and like I think what did we decide that I avoided the waterfowl weapon art probably 3 or 4 times.
I don't know.
In the time that we won.
Yeah, and it was funny because. Like for people who have played the game, and I assume if they're watching this video, hopefully they've gotten to this point, they can appreciate this. But I would be paying attention to the boss, and okay, she does the tell, she's about to do her flurry attack, and I just see Landy peeling off into the distance, like with no time, no hesitation.
Yeah.
And so like he was pulling off, like the reaction time was insane. So it was, and I'll let you finish yours, but I have quite the story to tell about this boss for me that I think it puts it as a very memorable boss for me, not necessarily a favorite. It's a favorite in a way.
Yeah,
but
it's memorable.
You really learned
the
that.
other thing about
boss
this
inside and out.
was boss just waiting, like it is a freaking statue. It was in all the promotion, like the whole game. I was like, I know she's gonna kick my ass.
Yeah.
I know I'm gonna get to it. It's gonna kick my ass.
Yeah.
And it did. It was.
Then it did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll sum up by saying that this boss was one of the ones that definitely got that feeling of when you beat it, you were like, yes, I beat it. I accomplished something, like this was worth it. all the time that I put into it.
Yeah.
Well, my experience with the boss, as Landy alluded to, I did eventually summon you for that, and it did not trivialize the fight. Just like the Spirit Ash for several boss fights didn't just trivialize it. So that was a good thing. Like summoning someone in didn't just be like, okay, this is easy, because that's for proud Souls players, the summon mechanic is like, okay, maybe not for everybody, but sometimes I'm like, okay, I want to do this myself and feel like I earned it. And you summon someone in, it's like, okay, I didn't feel like I earned that. This was not the case with this boss. You summoned in, it almost made it harder. But so
she has more health, and when she hits that person, she's healing off of them too.
Yeah.
So
which
if they
is the same thing
screwed
with
up,
Spirit Ash. So
right.
she's healing off of that.
I was using the Moonlight Greatsword against her with the Mimic, and a couple times I was able to pull off the timing where my Mimic would hit, I would hit, Mimic would hit. We're like, you see those videos of people hitting the hammer on like the green, like they're all in a sequence hitting the little hammer on the thing. That's what I felt like with my Mimic. We're like infinitely staggering her into a wall until we ran out of stamina.
In perfect rhythm.
Yeah.
You got lucky with that because it's just the RNG.
We tried to do that. Two human brains behind controllers trying to do that.
I think
it was. Couldn't make it happen.
So I was using a great sword. I don't know if y'all used a great sword, but I feel like I was doing a lot of staggered damage with each hit.
I mixed it up.
But that was
It
funny.
depends. Yeah, you couldn't stagger with everything, but yeah, she was definitely more staggered because, and also the elemental damage on there too she was weak.
It's like
the frost.
Landy, you mentioned in Demon Souls, you just played that. It's like sometimes if they're not actively attacking you, they can be staggered. So but if they're swinging, they won't get staggered, obviously.
Yeah.
But that's why sometimes I would catch that perfect rhythm where I would take like a good third of her health bar away with like just staggering her to the wall. Then she'd get mad, do her flurry attack, and kill me. Then I'd start over. But yeah. Cool fight, cool lore, but could have.
And let me just say, for people who you go in with a build and you think it's okay, I can do it with this thing. Let me tell you how that doesn't always pan out, because I was using one of my favorite weapons possibly ever in any Souls game, called the Sword of Night and Flame. Mm-hmm. Now, for those who played this game will appreciate this. It has a crazy special attack that's like a Kamehameha wave from Dragon Ball Z. It's insane. So. Basically had that, and if people have played this game, they'll know about hopefully the Mimic tier Summon Ash. That combination, and you mentioned you used it. I almost beat that fight with that, and it was one night, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna put this down. I almost got it. I'll probably get it tomorrow. Literally that next day, Miyazaki himself decided, oh, this guy got close. Let's patch something that nerfs both of those things. And from there, I could tell that the fight got much harder, and I had to change up my strategy, and it wasn't working. And then
I thought it was hilarious. You were literally like, "Oh, I'll fight it tomorrow," and then they nerfed like 4 things the whole game, and 2 of them specifically were 2 things you were using, in like a 6-hour window. Like, okay, that thing, we caught him.
Yeah. We figured it out. He's never gonna beat this.
He woke up and he was like, I had a nightmare, guys. Miyazaki ruined my life. Yeah, it was just weird. He just came out of nowhere and ruined it. It's like, oh no, he did that to you in reality. Which that was an interesting thing that we kind of come back to this, Zach, that you were talking about at the beginning, that it was like, since we were all at the start of this game coming out, it was like kind of an organic like creature. Like things were getting patched or changed or nerfed during the whole time I was playing it, and so things would change as we were in the game, which is a weird experience for sure.
Yeah. Another boss for y'all? Go around the horn. What's another cool boss y'all like?
Landy, you go ahead.
Okay. I actually would put in there, and I can't decide if I want this one, third or fourth, but Godric the Grafted was also fun to me. I thought he was like a pretty satisfying fight of just kind of like, there's just that type of enemy that he was, of just sort of like a bigger guy with kind of big attacks that you get to, you get pretty big windows to hit him and things like that. Nice transformation scene and everything. I think he was a really satisfying fight as well. I'm kind of only picking bosses at the beginning. Yes, yeah. I'm only picking bosses at the beginning so far. I promise I beat the game, but
yeah, guys, I'm almost there. I'm in Stormville Castle. I made to the throne.
I just beat the Mimic tier, guys.
Well, you're speaking on Malenia, and that's end game stuff right there. Yeah. So, yeah. Godric was cool. For me, everyone has their own experience with these games. I didn't struggle as much with Margit, so I beat that fight in maybe two or three tries. But then I got to Godric, and it took me probably 5 or 6 tries, and it felt like first real challenge that was for me. And then you're going through that castle, and I was trying to be very thorough, and there's a lot of crap in that castle that is frustrating. But Godric was really, really cool.
Castle's well done.
What's that?
I was saying the castle was well done.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, Godric was really cool. I have that on my list as well, as very memorable. And you'd kind of seen it already from promotional stuff, but it was a very cool fight.
I used his weapon for a bit. Once I was able to.
You commanded them to kneel?
I commanded them to kneel. Actually, yes. I'll go next, I guess. I thought Moog, Lord of Blood, was cool.
Yeah, it was a cool fight.
Basically, like in hell, in like this like Darth Vader castle in hell.
Yeah.
And then you just like fight, like, I guess it's Morgoth's twin, but he's like in there doing some science experiments on Miquella. And he was cool. He yelled at me in Latin, which is always a cool thing to have in games.
Always makes you feel. It gives you goosebumps, huh?
Yeah.
That mechanic was really interesting too. In hindsight, like of just you're getting blood loss procced on you whether you like it or not.
And it gave him health back too.
Apparently, there's an item that nullifies or significantly nullifies that like spell that you like that puts those 3 around you, and then he's like draining health from you. I think he still gets the health, but it like prevents you from taking damage. I found out about that after the fact. I didn't use it, but so there were several
I just went into that fight knowing automatically like, okay, you're losing 2 Estus into the middle of this fight, basically.
Yep.
Yeah, and then he has another shackle item that you can only use in the first phase. Just I still don't 100% understand why those 2 have the shackle items, but I thought it was a cool fight. His second phase was neat. He wasn't like, I felt like I was able to read his attacks and dodge him, but if I messed up, he hit me hard. Like it didn't feel cheap, like I was like with Melania, where like she would do certain attacks that I just like never fully could like confidently dodge. Like I felt like I could dodge his attacks.
The only cheap thing, which I won't call it cheap because a lot of Dark Souls bosses have this, was that unavoidable or seemingly unavoidable spell that he does.
It was just like almost it's just like a mechanic of his fight. Like it was just a
exactly. That's why I don't think it was necessarily cheap. Yeah, that was a cool fight. One that I'll mention, or was it, anyone have any comments on Moog?
You're good.
One that I'll mention that I think it's just funny because you'll find a boss like this in almost every Souls game, or at least several of the most like recent ones, specifically Dark Souls 3 and Sekiro. But Rykard was an interesting fight because it relied on a weapon that you find in the boss arena, to have like this big battle where you're thrusting a wind spear at him. And I just thought it was cool because of like just how cinematic it was, especially in the second phase when there's just meteors flying at you, and it was just maybe you can speak on it being kind of a trivial fight once you get the weapon and just you're just poking them, but I just thought it was cool, memorable.
Yeah, I agree with that actually, and I think like as far as eliciting like an emotional response of like disgust, like that was one of the better ones in this game of just like, oh my gosh, like his face is on where, and he's doing what, and where does he pull that sword out of? What the that cinematic for me was probably the most kind of skin curling sort of thing that they had in there.
For sure, he was a cool fight. I always I do enjoy those like one-time cool weapon art fights that are. It's in Demon Souls. It's in Dark Souls 3. I guess this game. I guess Sekiro kind of has a fight similar to that, I think.
Yeah. I wasn't going to get specific about that for those who,
Yeah, but they all the games have like a something, one of these. And they're always fun, but not necessarily like once you know what you're doing, you know what you're doing kind of thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I thought my second favorite was old Placidusax.
Oh, I have that on my list too.
That guy was cool. At like the bottom of like a time tornado, or wherever the hell he is. I don't understand.
Quite the name as well.
Yeah, Placidusax. And he's like, I looked it up, he was like the Elden Lord before the Erd Tree existed. Like he was like I don't know, like he was the first Elden Lord.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't even like I don't think it was called Elden Lore.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
we can refer to Vadi Vidya's lore breakdown. But
Yeah.
there was probably a time before the Erd Tree, and I think that is what he was.
Yeah.
So.
There's a big old dragon in the what's it, the capital. There's like another. It was like another of like the god dragon guys. A big old dragon like attacked the capital and they killed him.
Oh yeah.
And Placidusax is like this other like three-head. He's two-headed, but maybe he had a third head originally. I don't know. He definitely had two in the fight.
Yes.
But he had
it was the head that Godric cut off. No.
It's like a tiny little head that goes. Yeah. That was a cool fight. What really got it for me was I have written down here. Red lightning is objectively cool. So when he started shooting red lightning, I was like, yeah, okay, this is cool.
Yeah,
Dragon red lightning.
I can buy this. Yeah.
Fighting him in a time tornado. It makes no sense, but it's pretty cool.
Yep.
Also, completely unnecessary boss, or like not unnecessary, but hidden, like
optional.
Not optional. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the cutscene before that, touted by some as the coolest cutscene in a Souls game ever.
You told me that, like I was like, oh yeah, what's gonna happen? And it was just like it was cool.
I hyped it up so much for you, and then
I was like, it was cool. Yeah.
It was not that it wasn't cool. It was cool, but
yeah.
Whoever I'm subtweeting is, if they ever watch this, which they never will,
yeah.
they will give me shit for this. But.
Yeah, I agree. It was definitely not the coolest Souls game thing ever, but it was cool.
It sounds like Zach took one off of your list, Brendan, so I'll go next. Was it Estelle? Was one up there for me.
The creepy skeleton thing?
Yes. Yeah, and partially because his item, his weapon, is what I used for the end of my run once I finally got it. But also because I heard that some people were saying that was one of the harder bosses in the game. I didn't really have that much trouble with it, but he did have some attacks that were a little bit crazy. For instance, he just had basically a sniper bullet beam that he would shoot you with.
Yeah.
Apparently,
I got hit with that walking in the arena. I walked in the arena and got hit in the chest with it.
I've seen people fighting that boss. You just roll through it.
I was able to dodge it and get the timing right eventually, but it's definitely a very harsh introduction to the fight, and he does use it first. Also, there's two versions of him that you fight, and I don't know if they both have this move, but one of them definitely does, where he teleports away and then makes a dozen portals all around the room.
Only
and
one does
each
that.
one he's coming out of to grab you and do the grab move that one-shots you.
Yes.
That one ended up getting me stuck on him for quite a while before I could beat him. But I thought that he was objectively the coolest, like, big boss that you had to...
Yeah, really cool cinematic boss.
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of cool. I don't know
It was
what
more
he's supposed to be, or why he's there, or what's going on with this weird skeleton serpent thing.
Right.
He had like butterfly wings and like a skeleton head, and then like
planets for his tail.
Yeah, planets for his tail.
The game references that, like, the cosmos is like the source of magic or whatever, so he's some magic related type of lore boss, but that's way above our pay grade to pick apart right now.
I have some honorable mentions I could ramble off here before I tell my favorite. I thought Ofnir was funny because he's like in the hub the whole game, like giving you like you got to go be the elder,
cheering you on.
Yeah, cheering you on. And then he shows up and like monologues. I'm like, oh yeah, let's get this. Like, bam, 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 and he's just dead. Like, just like, like if I didn't let him monologue, I could have killed him before he started monologue. Like he just he sits there and for like 30 seconds, and then you could easily kill him in like 4 seconds. He was very goofy. I've actually watched some videos of his fight, like what he does some cool spells, but I didn't see any of them.
He has all of like the kind of the biggest, like, what you would call the biggest spells of the games.
Yeah, like I've seen
highest
him do,
like FP costing spells.
Yeah, I've seen him do like Malenia's like Scarlet Rot meteor thing. It's
nice.
Cool.
Yeah, he was goofy boss, but I thought it was cool. I have the OG Tree Sentinel, the one that like greets you at the beginning of the game. That's like your first lesson that you don't have to fight every boss in the game. I think that's why they put him there.
Or at least not right when you first.
Yeah, not when you find him. Yeah, it was like the first lesson of like maybe you should go somewhere else. So
you don't even have a horse at that point, right?
Right.
You have zero chance.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody's done it, but
Oh, absolutely. Someone has done level 1 with a
humankind, not alien kind. We're talking about humankind here.
Humans. Normal audience. I thought the Crucible Knights were fun. I like how they were difficult, but they were all similar enough where you knew what you were getting into, but a lot of them had different unique moves. That was cool.
Yeah.
The ones without a shield were just way easier because you could just you'd never tinked off. Exactly, you could range them and you wouldn't get tinked with like. It was always frustrating when you finally got an opening and you just tinked off their shield. Yeah. And then one of my personal favorite meme bosses is the Mariner. The boat guy who's just like.
I carried several of the.
Yeah, it's just so goofy. They're just like, aha, I'm over here now.
Rowing on land.
Yeah.
Like the first one I encountered was actually in like water, and then the next time it was like you're just in the grass. What are you doing?
Yeah,
like,
it's so goofy. Yeah, it's so goofy. It was funny. They never posed any threat ever. Like I was never worried about it.
Nope.
But,
memorable for that reason, though. For sure.
It's pretty fun. All right, Lumber, you have another one that comes to mind?
One that I just thought of a second ago that I just wanted to mention, it's very, very in-game, was Godfrey. I thought that it was a cool fight, and I struggled with it quite a bit, and he's very, very aggressive. And, honestly, he's aggressive to the point where you just kind of have to change your mindset with the game because like you're really playing a rhythm game with him, in my opinion. Yeah. Especially in his first phase. So I thought it was just noteworthy to mention him, and I didn't have to summon anybody, like any real person, for him. So I felt good once I beat him. I was definitely sweating, and lore wise, it's a very significant boss. There's stuff about how he was like cast out of the lands between, and he's come back now to like reclaim his.
And he goes all WWE on you and throws you in the air 60 feet and throws you back into the ground.
Yeah, he was like a linebacker. So it's nuts. I thought that was a cool fight looking back on it, even though it did frustrate me a lot during.
I have conflicting feelings on Godfrey because when I first... So obviously you fight him like, fake ghosty Godfrey.
Oh yeah, to be clear, I'm talking about real Godfrey, not ghosty Godfrey. So
I fought ghosty Godfrey and I was like, okay, either... I'm not going to fight real Godfrey, or he's going to be like a DLC. This is not Godfrey.
I knew he was going to come up later. Yeah. I knew he was coming up later.
Yeah, he's in all these pictures and like loading screens and stuff.
He's on the Steelbook. I've got an art book with his face on it. Yeah.
So you find him and he's there and he's looking all crazy with his axe and his like lion head thing. And then you beat his first phase and you're like, okay, that was cool. And then he like rips his like lion's head off or whatever he does.
Yeah.
And that was like, oh my gosh. But then he gets really goofy, I thought. Like he was like so like he yells like I am Horalu and he just yells warrior and then he runs at you like a Tattletale Strangler or something. He like runs at you with his hands out, like chasing you all goofy. And I was like, what is this? Like, I was just running away from like he's like some
pedophile trying to get you in the back of his van.
Exactly. I just thought he was like, it was still a cool fight. It was like, he like, he went back to his like his primal version or like his original state.
The idea with that like lion that he had on him was to like tame his like warrior nature because he's supposed to act lordly or whatever. As first Elden Lord. So he just like.
I just thought it was so good. I didn't understand what I fight as Horalu. Warrior was supposed to
say. He was saying he is Horalu, warrior. Like, that's him.
I just thought that him yelling warrior at me was cheesy, and then he ran at me like I said, like all goofy. But so I laughed at like the first 5 seconds. Then it was a cool fight after that.
I just again noteworthy because of like how, especially in the first phase, it felt like a rhythm game, like more so than like a lot of other bosses because of his constant stomping. And then story significance.
It was definitely a cool boss.
And to bring in probably one of the bosses that brings in like a jump helping you in the fight the most. Jumping over those quakes was much more beneficial than trying to roll them, and definitely gave me vibes from the only other Souls game that has a jump.
Yes.
Landy, do you have any other bosses on your list?
Or is it just the one that I feel like
besides my top one?
Yeah.
A boss that I thought of at the start of this that I think like deserves mentioning at least, especially because of lore reasons, is the Black Knife Assassins, especially like the invisible ones.
Yeah.
I think everybody like was annoyed by those existing, and also like,
but,
in my opinion, it was a fun fight from the aspect of it was something to like pick apart and kind of like a puzzle to figure out how am I not gonna die. When I fought the one right before the Halig tree, I used a glintstone spell, and the spell knew where it was even though it was invisible, and it would seek them out and kind of give me like a early warning system.
Yep.
And like I said, the lore reasons also. So for that boss being an honorable mention for me.
You mentioned knowing where the thing is at. I fought that guy with the Mimic. The Mimic just always 100% knows where it's at and just runs after him. Even if he's invisible, he just runs at him and starts hitting the I was like, oh, he's over there. Then I would go start hitting him. And then, So, like, the first time I fought one, it was hard because I wasn't using Spirit Ashes as much. So I was like, oh, where's it at? Just run it behind me. But then the second time I fought one, I had the Mimic, and it just completely trivialized it. It wasn't even like the whole gimmick was gone.
Well, and the way that I'm aware of that trivializes it, there's literally a torch that like reveals invisible things that you can buy.
Yeah.
And that's just it. So
I think it reveals illusory walls too.
There's really? About to ask. Does it do some weird stuff?
That's what it is. The spell, Lumber, you mentioned that like the goofy one where you use it on the statue where it's like Radagon is America.
Oh, the law of regression.
If you use that spell, it shows illusory walls.
I feel like it takes a lot more time to use a spell than it does to just smack something.
Yeah.
So, unless the wall has 9,000 health.
Oh, yeah.
Well, fair, but I think that was a glitch. So, or it was something that I don't, you guys may have seen this, but it's interesting because it could have just been like a last minute change to, like, I don't want this to be an entrance, we'll just, brick it up.
Yeah.
And then, it's like the wall has health. So they just gave it like a lot of health. But somebody just whacking away.
It makes you wonder though if there's another one.
I mean, there could be a lot of them, but like they weren't intended to be illusory walls.
It wasn't like there's a whole subclass of illusory walls.
No.
I almost think it's a 0% chance that it leads to somewhere that you can't get to another way.
That's how this one was. It was just a loop around to somewhere you could already get.
All right, my favorite boss, and then one we haven't talked about really, is the last boss of the game.
It's your favorite boss, huh?
I think
we got to talk about it. I don't know if it's my favorite.
Yeah, so I liked specifically the first phase the most. I think the second phase.
That's what I was going to say as well.
Really cool.
I thought the first phase was really cool. It was like what you've been looking like. I was like, oh, when's this guy gonna Radagon? When's Radagon gonna show up? It played the title music. It had a cool cutscene.
Oh, it was great.
His fight was cool. You're fighting him
and it wasn't like unreasonably difficult.
Yeah.
Like his fight,
Yeah.
But
and then
I think it.
So the cutscene leading up to him, the fight itself, and the cutscene after him was all cool. The music was cool. I thought the second phase was like a little goofy and like, shoehorned in there. Like they're like, that makes some like unknowable strength boss.
Beast.
Yeah, beast. Yeah, the Elden Beast. It was a little corny. I thought that was a little more, like the music was cool in that fight, but I don't think the fight itself, it took away from the coolness of Radagon, I guess.
It did, and if they had made it, I'm too experienced as a Souls game player to go into a final boss of this game and think it's only going to be one phase.
Yeah.
It's not going to be one phase.
Yeah.
So I wish the second phase had been like America, like, because they're supposed to be like, we'll get real into lore here, like they're supposed to be one.
They're like
or
one and
whatever.
the same.
So,
like
it's like, what if she'd kind of like changed, like, okay, I'm taking the front seat now.
That would have been cool. Yes.
That would have been really cool.
Yeah, she like, based on the cutscene from the beginning, you could almost picture like she's using Radagon as like a human shield for you, and like you take care of him, and then once he's dead, like, she takes over the corpse and kind of fights you. Like that would have made a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, that would have been way cool. Like you said, that'd been perfect if it was, you start off, it comes down, you fight Radagon or America, whichever one, and then it like, Harvey Dent fight the other one kind of thing.
Yeah. I wasn't thrilled about like, it's hit or miss sometimes for like really big bosses in these games. Sometimes they're just like BS, and sometimes they work. It just depends. But the fact that it ended with a really big boss, I feel like it's it feels a little bit more significant when, like, Dark Souls 3 was the Soul of Cinder, at the end. So, spoilers. The game's been out long enough.
Yeah.
But that boss had like influences of different bosses from previous games and stuff like that. And it was more human sized and it felt cooler. So like the fact that they just threw big amorphous blob in front of you is
if you think about it, that's what the last boss of like every single FromSoft game is. It's like the humanoid shape, like
God of the game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I felt. Radagon was really cool. He had cool attacks. It was like a cinematic, fight. But then they just like pushed in this like goofy, like amorphous blob thing that had a giant sword, which I don't know what the sword is. I just know it has the most broken weapon art in the game.
A few really like bullcrap attacks.
Yeah. And like a giant arena of like you're in space or whatever you are. I don't even know exactly where you're at.
And I really couldn't stand how much it ran away from you, and like it just okay. I'm spending half the fight just like
running simulator.
Yeah. So if I had to, basically like Radagon is my favorite boss, and Elden Beast is just riding the coattails of that because it is there.
Yeah, I agree. Radagon was super cool. It was a culmination of everything you've been hearing about, and the way Radagon was such an interesting character, the way they built him up in the game, because you hear about he's like on the side of the Golden Order, and then he marries Renala, who's like opposite of that, and then he for some reason goes back to America, and you're like, what's going on? So really cool lore wise, and it's just I like that fight a lot.
And then like the like you mentioned at some point in this, the very unfront software, like Radagon is America, like just it's like
which
weird.
I didn't find out until after the game, but yeah.
Imagine like you're almost at the end of the game and you find that and you're like, what?
Well, things where you could find that is where you first get into the capital, and that's not necessarily like in game, depending on how you play. There's several areas to go.
Yeah.
So
the statue only exists before you beat Malekith, right?
Yeah.
Yes, but in non-Ash capital. Yes.
Yeah. That's it's just weird.
Yeah.
It's weird. I will say my contribution to why it's my favorite boss is partially why is that it had it was the most satisfying parryable boss in the game. You guys that don't know, you can parry that boss, and if you parry him 3 times, then you get your visceral off the parry. You have to do it 3 times. Like you get maybe a hit on the normal parries, but when you actually want to hit the front stab visceral, you get it on the 3rd one, and it was very satisfying.
Yeah, cool boss. I liked the opening cutscene where it is changing from America to him, and he holds up the hammer thing, and then the title screen music comes on. You're like, oh, let's go.
I think that if we talk about that for a second, that's arguably the best theme music they've ever made.
Oh.
That song is great.
There's nothing like waiting for this game for several years, and then you turn it on and that starts playing.
Oh yeah, I remember I had turned it on and I was talking to Angela, and then I just hear my ears.
Yeah. The drums and stuff. Yeah. It's so awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. That is all my favorite bosses. Any other notable ones y'all want to bring up?
None that come to mind. There are a lot of repeats. Some are cooler than others, but I think we touched on most of the cool ones that we need to.
I'm hoping in the DLC we'll get to fight some form of Godwyn, because he's dead.
And Mikola. I want Mikola to come and make his moment too.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about too much.
The
I know we're not making this a full lore video, but it was a little disappointing to just be like, all right, I killed Moog, and then there's just this dead, catatonic hand that is Mikola, but you can't really do anything about it.
as a fun closer, I read someone on Twitter speculating about that. It's just Mikola seems like the perfect entrance to the DLC. That hand pulls you into his sack thing, and you go into the past or another version of the world, whatever it is.
Is that late game? I guess you can access that. For someone who jumps into a new save file and wants to get to the DLC, I guess you can get it to reasonably early, but I didn't personally get to it until pretty late.
I can speak to that actually, because you just literally if you just run to that church, what's his face is at Vare.
Oh yeah.
And then you do you fight 3 invasions, and you can just teleport to Moog.
Right. Okay, that's right.
But do you can't use it right away. You have to do some.
Well, like you invite you like go up to this church and like stain it.
I think what he's getting at is that there may be a story point that you didn't realize because I mean, how early did you get to that?
I killed Godric. I killed Renala. But I mean, I don't know if you had to do those.
That might be it. That you have to have two shard bearers dead.
Maybe
that is a significant story point.
Yeah.
Which is still kind of at the beginning of the game. If you think about that, there's like what, 6 or 7 of them.
Yeah.
So
like
you're only a third of the way through. Yeah.
Well, you don't have to
I
kill
mean,
all of them, so, yeah.
And if you're starting a new save, knowing it to do that, you can do it real quick. Or if you're starting a new game,
I said someone who first jumps in.
Yeah.
And say, okay, I want to do the DLC at the same time. Then yeah, you can access it.
And you have to beat Moog Lord of Blood though. So let's time out. Like getting to that area is not hard, but then you have to beat Moog. Maybe like a ringed city. So maybe the second DLC. Yeah. First DLC, maybe not, and maybe second DLC. That who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows how many there will be? Whatever.
Cool. Well, good stuff. I enjoyed talking about these. I was thinking I had a lot, larger ambitions for this video, but I think just talking with the bosses was satisfying enough.
Yeah, I think we touched on other things too at the same time. So
cool. I appreciate y'all's time. I thought it was cool. Maybe we can do some more videos on this in the future. We come up with more ideas.
Sure. Maybe we can crank out some cool co-op videos or something.
Or let us know what you want us to talk about. We'll talk it to death in the comments. Just let us know. We'll make a video about it.
Yeah, what he said. Yeah, I'll talk about the game all day. And Lumber, you made a good point. That'd be cool to do some goofy co-op stuff. That'd be a fun thing to think about. Alrighty. Well, I will talk at y'all later. Thank y'all for watching. See if I gotta do the Mike Wazowski thing on here quick. I gotta find the thanks for watching that goes over Landy's face. There we go. There we go. Thanks for watching.
Am I still? Can you see me?
You're going like around the word thanks. Thanks is in the middle of your screen. You're going like around.
Oh, okay, perfect.
That's perfect, actually.
Yeah. All right. Talk at y'all later.
Holding it up. By solving your riddle.
Yeah, I'm hoping that the frame rate isn't terrible. It doesn't look fantastic, but we're gonna roll with it.